call the meeting to order, and I'll start off by saying, wow, it's wonderful to see lots of people coming to watch tonight. That's fantastic. Thanks for coming. And we'll start with an adoption of the agenda. Can I get a motion on that one? Okay. Okay. The one thing that's not on this agenda, maybe we should add, is 1.2 that we've been adding is the vote on items not to debate. We've been doing that for the last little while, and for the people, it's just a means of information that's in our package. If, as opposed to going through each one individually, we'll just identify any and do it all at the start here. So is there any items that people feel we don't need to debate for this meeting?
You kind of said that backwards. We usually pick the ones we want to debate.
Oh, okay. The ones that we want, and the ones that are left out, we won't debate, yeah.
So I will start.
Okay.
5.3, 14.9, 13, 14.9, 60, and 16.
Okay. Councillor Dunn?
I think that covers all of mine as well.
Councillor Martins?
8.1, well, all of the 8s, 8.1, 8.3, 8.4, 14.7, 14.9, and that's it.
Yeah, we definitely, when I go through, I definitely have to do 8.1, 8.2, 8.3, 8.4. I would like to also discuss 14.4 as an item. All right. And we need to go talk about 14.6, 14.7, and that's what I had. Any other ones, Councillor Wakel? This will probably take more time this time than others.
You guys covered it all.
Okay.
Nice thing about being on this side.
Yeah.
You guys covered it.
I had the same. I had all the 8s, the 14s that were mentioned, and that's it.
Okay. And Councillor Danak.
Basically all the 8s, 13.1, 14, all the 14s. Yep.
Okay. So that really quickly, what we will not be debating then would be the 13.1, or sorry, 3.1, 3.2, 5.1, 5.2.
Oh, I think we have to do those, do we not?
The minutes?
I thought we did.
Well, they are going to get approved unless, that's what we're doing right now, approving those items.
Oh, okay, yeah. I still
5.1, 5.2 would be
Yeah.
approved.
Yeah.
And I think that's it, eh? The rest we're going to cover. All right, so with that, can I get a motion to not debate those items or pass those items as presented?
I will so move.
All right, all in favor? Carried. So now we'll move on to our scheduled delegations. And I can see Lindsay's up there, ready to start us off on Children's Resource
Are
Council.
we doing the land acknowledgement?
Oh, geez, thank you. I have to backtrack one step and apologize because and in the spirit of reconciliation, recognize that we're on the homeland of the many diverse First Nations and Métis people whose ancestors have walked this land for time immemorial. We're grateful to work, live, and learn on the traditional territory of Treaty 8. Thank you for reminding me. And then with that, we'll turn it over to Ms. Davies. If you can just, with the microphone there, we'll get you to turn it on and just give your name and the organization you're with, just so anybody out watching this will know.
Okay, Lindsay Davies, CAO, Children's Resource Council. So what I have done here is I've provided you with a PowerPoint presentation of all the programs and services, but for the sake of time, I'm obviously not going to go through all this. I just want to focus on first how the Children's Resource Council works. So it's really a hub and spoke kind of philosophy where each program is a spoke, and that's similar to how the FRNs run regionally. So the Children's Resource Council is the association you see in the middle. Contracted services would be Brighter Futures, Good Start, as well as Stronger Together, Brighter Futures, Next Steps. So these are all contracted to the Children's Resource Council from the provincial or federal governments to deliver. Charity Services is a program that the Children's Resource Council offers. So things you might be familiar with are like Santa's Little Helper. We have a free store. The Toy and Resource Library is kind of a public partnership between some of these funders and the Children's Resource Council. So there's a lot of pieces of that they also support. And the final piece is WJS in terms of their Youth Resiliency Program. They are part of the Family Resource Network. That's the point of this presentation and what I want to talk a little bit about today. So they are one of the spokes. So that model as well, the Family Resource Networks, they operate provincially. And I've given you a whole presentation to explain all that. We have one in this area. So our Northern Lights Family Resource Network includes Smoky River, this county, so Big Lakes County, as well as Lesser Slave River and MD of Opportunity. So the hub of this network is here in High Prairie. There are two program spokes, Stronger Together and Brighter Futures Next Steps, that were developed in-house. So we created these programs. Stronger Together is an early intervention home visitation program, 0 to 6. Brighter Futures Next Steps is a 0 to 18 program. They do some of everything, a lot of parenting, child development. They're doing youth groups. It's really a 0 to 18 scope of practice. And then the WJS Youth Resiliency Program is the third spoke. So it is part of the FRN. However, we do not operate, obviously, that spoke. It operates out of WJS. So just highlighting in your Family Resource Network presentation, because I don't want to take up too much of your time, there was a shift from parent link centers, home visitation programs, early intervention, and community and family resource centers to combine everything under these provincial family resource networks. So the framework was developed under the previous government. However, the implementation and contract structure and how service delivery is going on was created now. So what we are going through right now is our third phase of implementation, so year 3. This is all going to be about outcomes. What makes family resource networks different is that they're targeted. So essentially, a family would come in for service or be referred for service from another partner. There's an initial screen to establish need as well as what they want. They have, they can comment and say, I'm specifically looking for this. And then there's a series of engagements where we kind of delve further into the family and try to fit them with what they need. So it's really an individually family-focused service rather than kind of a catch-all universal open playgroup theme. So it's a very different focus. So the government's kind of provincial government rather, has taken us out of the universal prevention service. So we only get about 10 to 15% of our services can be that, and everything else is early intervention targeted. So I'm not going to go any more into that. There are networks throughout the whole province, and ours, just for a quiz at the beginning, I said it's the Northern Lights Family Resource Network, so that's really important for you guys to remember. And I guess as part of our community, in terms of we want to keep the hub here, we want to engage all of our areas to keep kind of this in your general conversations and engagements, because it's a very important part of the communities and what we offer. And down the road, should there be, more funding, more things going on with Family Resource Network, their growth, I think the community would benefit from having the hub here and 2 programs that are developed right here in High Prairie that are now being delivered all over the region. So I think that's a huge benefit for you. So the 3 service domains I just want to go through real quick are child development and well-being supports, caregiver capacity building supports, social connections and supports. So all of these things we have been able to also kind of blend our federal contracts with Health Canada into the same kind of model. So we really have a hybrid where we've kind of been able to put together cohesively all different kinds of funding to create kind of a wraparound service for families. And all of our partners, both provincial and federal, have been awesome in doing this. So down the road, I guess what probably will be happening within Children's Services, Alberta Community and Social Services, as well as the federal government, is to kind of keep these kind of one-stop service centers available for families so that no matter where they are in the province, they can access the same kind of services. So as we proceed through different grant structures, different funding structures, everything kind of needs to fit under this umbrella. So possibly Brighter Futures Next Steps, because they're thinking of moving the youth age limit to 25, maybe offering something like suicide prevention up to the age of 25, or some kind of family violence program, those kinds of things. And we've done family violence before. So it just kind of depends on what's available. Okay, so I'll leave you with all of this reading. Does anybody have any questions or anything specific to FRN?
So I just have one question. So how is this funded? Provincially or federally?
Family Resource Networks are funded provincially, and so they fund that hub, and then those 2 spokes on up the Stronger Together, Next Steps, as well as the Youth Resiliency. Federally, Brighter Futures, and that Good Start Healthy Choices. So Healthy Choices is Good Start's twin in Slave Lake. That's all funded federally. Both federal and provincial partners kick in some moderate, tiny bit of funding into the Toying Resource Libraries because they really support what's going on in that at-home learning. So that's kind of a partnership between us and them, all 3 partners. So it's all federal and provincial funding. At this time, we don't have anything from Family and Community Social Services. Previously, we have. So we had the Family and Community Safety Program. We had a number of different. There's just been nothing that fits quite under our umbrella.
Because I know that you guys have partnered with FCSS or tried to partner with FCSS when it came to the Christmas hampers or Christmas angels.
Yeah, actually when I started over 16 years ago, we actually did one program between High Prairie and the county. We did one Sands Little Helper program. The difference was there was just some differences in terms of how things wanted to be screened. And so the 2 programs kind of split up. So we focused just on the town of High Prairie. There's been times where we've had specific need due to fires or something in another community, and our board has decided, yes, we will fund this somebody else. There's sometimes too, we've had donations from certain areas, and so we've been able to provide hampers in those areas. But yeah, at one time the county and the town were together.
Councillor Daneka?
Have you collaborated with the High Prairie School Division and stuff? Are they aware of these programs that you have?
I believe so. We've done over the years. We've done a number of research projects with High Prairie School Division. Right, we did the the ECMAP Coalition, which I think is the last time I was here. So, as well as we did the Early Years Continuum project. So I've done a number of projects with High Prairie School Division. I would be surprised if they don't know about Family Resource Networks, just because there was a real provincial push.
Okay.
But it's definitely something that could be more accessed. We reach out directly to the wellness coaches.
Okay.
For referrals. However, teachers, like anybody, can refer to a Family Resource Network, any family at any time. So it really doesn't have to be from anywhere, but I'm hoping that they're aware.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Dunn?
That was a question I had leading up, is where do you get most of your referrals from? Are you finding from referral sources, or are you getting families actually just calling you for help?
The bulk of referrals, if you're talking about like infants, they're gonna come from AHS.
Okay.
So pre and postnatal, doesn't matter if you're Slave Lake, Wabasca, it's coming from AHS. The other referrals are usually self-referrals, but we also work with WJS. Like if someone, everything has to go through the hub. That's the other important piece. So no matter if you're in Slave Lake or Wabasca, your paperwork has to be processed in High Prairie. So thank goodness for technology. But we process all that because there's a navigation that has to go on in terms of finding the correct services in those areas. And they may not even be on this page. They may be something unique to Slave Lake that we know about. They may be something, to do with housing. It could be to do with anything. So we route them and do those referrals for them. But for the most part, it is self-referrals, but a lot from AHS generally. But most of our pre and postnatals come from there.
Thank you.
Not a lot from children's services. But I think that's because, and like statistically, what you guys are dealing with is out of that 0 to 6, but it still can also be referred to the hub, right? Because we know families need so much more than just early intervention.
Councillor Martins?
Thank you. Lindsay, you had mentioned the hub and how we are central here. Is there something we can do to strengthen our hub not being taken away, or is there any danger of the hub not being High Prairie?
Well, there's always, right? So the more you put into it and the more support and capacity you build, there's going to be an open competition process. So you're going to be competing with organizations like we did last time out of Slave Lake, perhaps out of Smoky River. There could be some, I think Slave Lake is honestly your biggest competition if it's going to come out. So I think, supporting the organization, if, I know, financially nobody can really provide supports right now, but it's something to consider because it's an investment. If you want the hub to stay in High Prairie, there's an investment that can be made. If you look around the province, a lot of organizations that like ours, including the urban centers, they're actually counting on annual municipal grant funding. And it doesn't really matter what kind of denomination you're looking at. It's something they can count on, whether it goes towards directly to operating expenses, whether it goes to whatever. They're kind of supporting that administrative piece or that operational piece. It could be a facility, it could be a charity service, whatever it is. But the more, like in terms of what we have going on right now, like we're trying to fix the roof and different things like that, the budget was severely cut through the FRNs. So what they did was they amalgamated all these services, but gave us a small budget, less than we had for 2 municipal districts, to do 4. So those operational expenses and administrative expenses, which are important in running the whole network, aren't funded. So we're kind of doing that off the side of our desk for the most part. Doing a really good job, like our hub navigations and our evaluation process and assessment process is awesome. It's been difficult for us to get going out of COVID again. I'm not going to say it's not, but thank God for online service delivery too, because that saves us a lot of money.
Any other questions? Seeing none. Well, thank you for your presentation. It's
Thank you for your time.
very complicated funding and such a variety of services. It's going to be difficult keeping that all.
Well, you have all your reading material,
Yeah.
so between periods
Yeah.
when you're watching hockey. Thank
Thank you very much.
Thanks, Lindsay.
Thank you. Thank you.
I haven't done this in a while, so I shouldn't swear.
Yeah.
Is the camera's on also?
Where am I supposed to go to get this one? Thank you. My goodness, there's a lot more on here than I thought.
Everybody gets to see what's on the flash.
Apparently I didn't clean it off.
Yeah.
Thank you for your patience. As some of you may know, I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Deanna Bazarb. I'm a workforce consultant with Alberta Labour and Immigration. I'm located in the High Prairie Provincial Building, and I'm from High Prairie. So what I'm talking about today is important to me because I live here and I've grown up here, and I like my community and I wanted to prosper. So a little bit of background. Back in February, Premier Kenney announced 2 new immigration streams to bring newcomers to Canada. The one that I'm going to talk about today is the Rural Renewal Stream. There is also the Rural Entrepreneur Stream that I'm not going to talk about today. I'm just going to calm down a little bit. How this presentation came to be is I was approached by some employers in our town. As you guys may be aware, we do have some workforce challenges where employers can't fill the vacancies that they have. And the employers saw this as an opportunity to bring new people to our community with new skills and fill those vacancies. So for the Rural Renewal Stream, it's one of the streams under the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. This particular program empowers rural communities to attract newcomers to live, work, and settle in communities. It's there to fill labor gaps. It's also to increase immigrant attraction and retention in rural communities. So it fills two needs. And today, they're sitting in the gallery, but Greg Radstack, Barry Sharkawi, Bronwyn from Tolko are all present to represent some of the employers that have talked about the labor shortages that they're experiencing and are hoping that this might be an option that High Prairie can take a look at. I have shared the fact sheet with you, so at times I'll be referencing that document instead of the PowerPoint. So this stream is intended for communities that have skill shortages or human resource needs, and it's to help recruit newcomers to live and work in our community. It's also for foreign nationals who are in Canada legally or outside of Canada that would like to live here permanently. So the fact sheet that I have shared with you actually has a better graph of this pathway, but basically what the community does is they apply for designation, and it will go over the eligibility for designation. Then their job, and predominantly it would be the employer's job, to attract and recruit the newcomers. The newcomers would apply for jobs in the community, and once the employer selects who they're going to hire, they bring that candidate to a committee that is formed of community members, and that committee would endorse the newcomer, and that triggers the permanent residency pathway for the newcomer. So it's a win for the community because you're getting somebody who's coming here to live permanently, and then it's also helping newcomers enter our country. So the newcomer would begin the pathway for the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program, and then our job as community members would be to welcome and integrate those newcomers and then keep them. So the candidates that, for instance, if Tolko is looking for somebody who is a skilled tradesperson, the qualifications still exist. Like, we can't circumvent the existing requirements, so doctors still need to have their necessary licensing and education, heavy equipment techs, same thing. They would also need to obtain the legal requirements for entry into Canada. This program isn't for seasonal workers. It's also not for part-time positions as well. We cannot use this program for anything that would put the government of Alberta into disrepute. So in terms of eligibility, the community has to have a population of less than 100,000. And in our situation, some of the requirements that we have, we may wish to partner with other similar sized communities surrounding us, whether Big Lakes County, town of Slave Lake, perhaps on the other end of the lake, because we do exist within an economic region. We also need interested employers with full-time job offers, and a community can have multiple employers with multiple positions. So there's no limit. There's not just one employer can sign up. We could have a bunch of employers that sign up for this program. And I know in your packages, further information, you do have some employers that have signed up for the documentation through GRUA, and we have some different employers in the room tonight. We do need an economic development organization that will oversee the project. We would need letters from each of the municipalities that are included in the application for designation. We would also need an immigrant serving provider. And so I do have a little list of who that could be, because we don't necessarily have an immigrant serving agency within our community, but there is within the province, there is within the region, such as Edmonton Mennonite Center, Edmonton Immigrant Services Association, Catholic Social Services. Like, there's a number of agencies within Alberta that have agreed to help out the smaller communities. Excuse me, a letter that outlines this collaboration will need to be included in the application for designation. So one of the things that I wanted to touch on that I should have touched on a little bit earlier, Greg prepared a graph that I've passed out. Our population has declined in the last 20 years, and what we're seeing is we're in a downward trajectory, and so we were hoping that something such as this might be an opportunity to rebuild and resettle the community so that our population begins to increase. So that graph is even when we've done well, we're still going down. Like with the reopening of Tolko, for instance, population kind of stabilized for a little while, but we're still in that direction. So the very first steps for a community, if they decide to go down this pathway, is to create a community partnership. So that may mean that it's between municipalities, our residents, businesses, employers, cultural and community members, and then of course we need to be represented by an economic related agency. So when we do the application, and when we're ready for the application, they would sign off on the application. It doesn't mean that the community group might not help with the application, because they have the information to support. So that will be critical, is having that piece at the table. And might I add, the unemployment rate in Alberta right now is 5.7%. And in our area, the last 3 months running average was 4.7%. So there's not a lot of workers for the jobs that exist. So we're kind of running into a labor shortage that's statistically proven that we need to do something. So then once we go through the process of applying and becoming designated, then our work begins with attracting and recruiting, selecting and endorsing newcomers, and then welcoming them and then keeping them. So there's a little bit of work that will be attached to that, but what we feel as the group that has come together is that doesn't necessarily just fall on the municipality. It's everybody's responsibility as part of that community group that is created to go forward with this program. So when we look at the community, we do have to take a look at the employment and skills gaps that exist. Do we have full-time jobs? Are they permanent? Is there anyone locally or provincially that could actually fill those jobs? So those are all things to consider. And another question would be, does our community support immigration? Is it a welcoming community? And can we accommodate newcomers? Like when new people move here, do we have the resources for them? And that would include like housing. We have a good school system. We have a beautiful college down the road. We have a beautiful hospital here in High Prairie. So I would challenge anyone to say that no, we can't accommodate newcomers. So like at this point, if it's a consideration, applications actually are funneled through me, oddly enough. We're going to review the toolkit, and I've shared it with Brian, and I can share it with the counselors. I wasn't sure how much reading you guys wanted to do in advance of this meeting. And then we develop the plans to manage the project and then begin. This is just a little bit of information about what the candidates, the newcomers, would need to follow. And so they do need the permanent, full-time, seasonal, non-seasonal job. They need work experience. They need to pass the benchmarks. And then they would need the endorsement letter from our community. And they pay for the fees through the Alberta Advantage Immigration Program. So I would invite questions, and I would also invite any of my employers in the background if they have any additional commentary to pipe in.
We decided, we formed an ad hoc committee here in the last couple of weeks. We've met a couple of times, meet weekend, we're going to meet weekly. And one of the questions we've heard from both municipalities that there's not a lot of resources from the municipal level to throw at this point. Budgets have been set, and there's not a lot of free dollars available. It's really, for us there moving forward, there's an application process to submit to the Rural Renewal Stream. And we've decided as an ad hoc committee, we'll do that within our capacity. Our members there, the business community, will pull together this application. But we do need a economic development organization as the vehicle to submit this through the province. So we're hoping that's going to be the economic development group at the county level there, who are visiting tomorrow. So really from the municipality point of view, we just need you guys on board to support the employers in town in the region.
Well, thank you for that, and thanks for the presentation, Dean. And I think it's a wonderful program, and I'm sure our council will support it. But that was my questions: is what's needed from our town, and what do we need to do? Because yes, that makes good sense to work with the county and utilize PREDA for working through them and see where we can go with that. And thanks to the businesses that's got together to put together that application. That's wonderful. And yeah, because that was my question. Like, it's in our agenda package today to look at it. When I was reviewing it, those are the questions that were coming up. What's needed from us, and how can we do it? And if it's, I'm still not really sure, other than support. And I know in the package it said you needed a letter from the municipalities. That was, and that's really it. Is that what I'm getting? Is just a letter of support?
That is our
At this point?
understanding. In terms of like financial contributions, that may be like, it's nice to actually know for the communities that sign up, the cost would be manpower. So allocating a team member or a council member to participate in the meetings that take place, because the committee will be signing off on those designated letters, or the endorsement letters, pardon me, as well. The person who leads the committee will be man hours, basically. So that's my understanding of what it would cost. There is also, through Alberta Labor and Immigration, we do have different grants available to help settle newcomers. Currently, none are available, otherwise I would have brought that information to you, but as they come forward, I would make sure that the town of High Prairie is aware of it, because I think that may help our group with some of the settlement pieces that are required for this.
Okay, and again, just so I'm clear, at this point, you need a letter and maybe a representative to sit on the organizing committee. Is that what I'm hearing?
I would believe so, yeah.
Yeah.
I think one of the most important things for me today was to make sure that town council was very aware of this program and had like a good understanding of why it would be important for our community to really explore if this is an option that we can undertake.
We also need an economic development plan, and it could be a gated one. I know the Lesser Straight Lake Economic Alliance did one, or the town of High Prairie did one that was supported by the Alliance. So that's somewhere in your archives. That was done probably 2011, somewhere back then. So if we could find that again, I don't have a copy of that, but that's part of the piece of the application is an economic development plan.
Thanks, Greg.
That would probably be the same one that Big Lakes would have then too, I would
Not
assume.
sure where it is
Yeah,
anymore.
okay, yeah. All right, any other questions on this one? I know it's on our agenda later, but.
I'd just like to know where your figures here for your graph, is that from the latest census?
Yeah, that's the latest Canada census. Yeah.
Councillor Martins?
So, thank you for coming in. A question and a comment. Question is there any way to partner with sort of the Ukrainian refugee program right now federally? Is that a place where this could be?
That my understanding is that those people, they are being prioritized. So if we were a designated community, we absolutely could help them with their permanent residency through this program. So for sure.
Because that would be cool, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
And comment is we did this not exactly, I mean, this is an Alberta designated program. I've seen it at the federal level, like I'm talking 15 years ago. But we did this in Saskatchewan. In fact, you mentioned the Mennonites, and there the farming community really had a shortfall for, the seeding cycles and the harvest. And there were a lot of farmers that employed, did the whole paperwork, did the whole thing. It wasn't so much municipality supported, but individual businesses, so I think it works really well, and it can fill that gap. So I would encourage council to look at it.
This program eliminates a lot of the hurdles that were in place at the federal level. Whereas you used to have to get a labor market impact assessment, and you go through a bunch of hoops. This really eliminates it, and Ukrainian are prioritized under this program. And I know we have a strong Ukrainian community within High Prairie. Certainly, those are probably some of the first ones that would benefit from this program.
Absolutely. And it's a great, your Saskatchewan example is a great example as well. I believe when our leadership was looking at putting this program together, they looked at programs like what was described, but another program was found in Morden, Manitoba. I should have brought the example, because what has happened was Morden was a small community. They decided to sign up for a program similar to this, and what they have found over the decade that they've been using this is that they've really increased their population. There's a really strong sense of community pride, and the young people that have left the community to go to school and do other things and live their lives have actually returned to the community because of what has been created as part of their program that they used. So it's a good one.
I'm just thinking out loud really quickly, is there advantages of working, with our region and our other municipal partners in the area? Should we be looking at our First Nations and Métis municipalities and partnering with them, or again, I'm just throwing that out, what's the best way to get this, or is, I mean, for simplicity's sake, if the application would be received, if it was, you know, us and Big Lakes, that's probably simpler when you got two partners, but as soon as you get more, it gets more complicated. But is there a chance that we wouldn't get accepted into this program? I'm just thinking out loud there.
Sorry, Deanna, I think there's an advantage of being a first mover here. There's only one other community that's been designated so far in Alberta. So we're right at the front of the line here. If we can get an application and that, you know, I don't want to really get bound, you know, by trying to get 6 or 7 partners on board. We've seen the town and the county,
Okay.
and we're off to the races.
Yeah. And I think in terms of being disqualified, I think the population would cause us to be disqualified if we went over 100,000. We're not going to go over
No,
100,000.
Yeah.
Like we're not.
Yeah.
We're not in that situation, so we don't need to worry about being disqualified. I think the only thing, and Greg is right in terms of speed and bringing a whole bunch of partners to the table, it's going to take a little bit longer. But the resources that come when you add people to the table is one of the benefits as well. So whatever we decide to do is kind of how I see it.
Yeah, and what I'm hearing is probably get it started with the 2 because it's simple. We can get it going right away and get the application in before too many other communities are in, and go from there. It sounds like a great program. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Councillor Shishin?
Just a comment. I just wanted to say thank you for bringing this into us, and looks like a great opportunity for our community, and I think we have a lot to offer here. So it's quite exciting to hear this, and what I'm kind of hearing is time is of the essence. So hopefully you can see what we can go forward as soon as we can there, if it's possible. Thank you.
Well, thank you very much for coming in, and I know we're going to be debating this a little bit longer, but afterwards, the specifics, but we really appreciate an overview of the program, because it was, reading it all, I didn't quite have my head wrapped around it as well as I do now.
It's taken me a little while to.
Yeah.
There's one more piece that's in your agenda. We've got a letter from a consulting firm and an immigration consulting firm, and they're the piece there that does all the immigration paperwork under this program. If they were, you know, if I was as an employer were to hire them. So I think that's in your package there later on. So that's connected to what we're doing here. I'm not sure if it's in this package. I heard it was.
Yeah, I didn't see that letter from, but
It's farther on. It's from Gruel.
which page?
Thank you.
It says how to submit the documents, then I got a blank page. Okay. Well,
So 104 from
oh, okay, I see, yeah. Gotcha, okay. All right, thank you for that. And we'll move then to our public delegations. And I know that they've been waiting patiently, so I'll invite you up. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
I don't have a PowerPoint, but thank you, Mayor and Council, for taking the time to hear me as a public delegate. My name is Sheila, and my husband and I have lived here for our whole lives, and now we are raising a young family of our own here in High Prairie. I'm just here to be a voice today after hearing so much frustration from my neighbors, colleagues, clients, friends, families, and members of this community, including like all the comments all the time I see on High Prairie Discussion Facebook. People here are really struggling. We are facing a serious economic hardships. Utility rates have jumped and continue to rise. Taxes are already high. And I understand we have a tax increase coming. So many of our ratepayers cannot make basic ends meet. My husband recently commented, like, is our house built on gold? Like, why are taxes so high? We have like the smallest backyard. We have a young family to take care of. Affordability is a big issue for us, and so for so many of our neighbors and friends. So this is what I'm here to ask. Is council really being responsible, accountable, and prioritizing taxpayers' money? How is council going to help people in our community who are struggling? I don't know, a lot of people come here and talk about high taxes. Like, I don't think it should be swept under the rug or ignored. Like, it's really something that should be looked at. I wrote some comments down from people I know. Someone said, our town is a ghost town in the making. The last few years have been so hard on everyone. We can all attest to this. Some families cannot even afford childcare, $1,300 a month per child, let alone cost of everything increasing. Someone said, I've only lived here for a year and a half and it's the most expensive place I've seen. Groceries are too high. High Prairie is becoming a sinking ship. It's just businesses are fleeing, more and more houses are going up for sale, the roads are deteriorating, taxes are always going up, and nothing is being done to curb this. People are going to continue to leave because they are forced to. Someone said to me today, town council is out of touch with reality. They have killed the town by not allowing it to grow, and we have no conveniences or other things needed to draw people or families into making this their home. So that's it. And time for physical restraint. People, especially when our town bills are so ridiculous. Businesses, wherever he says that. Yeah, so that's what I'm here to say.
Well, thank you for coming in and expressing your concerns.
I don't talk a lot in front of people, but I just thought, like I hear it all the time, and I just want to be a voice. I see it all the time, been here for a long time, and I just thought, why not go to one of these meetings?
No, we certainly appreciate people coming in and expressing their concerns.
Yeah.
And I can say we've heard it loud and clear from some people, and you hear it, and I can say from from council, we didn't go and look at increasing taxes just because we thought we should. I mean, we're really trying to keep the costs down. We're doing our best, and like you say, we've got a lot of aging infrastructure. I know you want to be able to turn on your taps and get good clean water, and you want to be able to when you flush your toilet, it all goes away. And those are things that we're really working to try to keep those things going. And this infrastructure basing on that, like we got lift stations that need to be repaired and upgrades to the water treatment plants that need to be done again. So there's all of these expenses. And as you said, we're in some of the same boats where inflation is hitting us also and trying to run the facilities. So we're not trying to do it, and we don't want to raise taxes. I think we can say that. We feel that we're almost at a point where we had to do a little bit to try to keep our town as a sustainable place. But that's I can say that's been the debate that we've wrestled with for quite a while when we talked about our budget for next year. Yeah.
Okay.
I don't know if anybody else wants to comment. Go
You
ahead.
raise a very good question. Are we being responsible with your money? I don't know how familiar you are with, because I hear these stories every day. I hear stories from people can't afford to feed themselves or their pets. I don't want to say elderly, but middle-aged parents are moving in with their children because they can no longer afford the utility bills. I don't know how familiar you are with our financial statements, our meetings and everything. Are you aware of our donation fund that we collect $40,000 a year to donate to charities? I hear what you're saying, but does the rest of council? You ask a very good question, because I hear it every day, if it's from going to a store, to a gas station, to wherever. And I thank you so much for coming in, because you have to remind us who we're working for and who we represent at these tables.
Yeah, I've just been here for a long time, and like I love the community, but it's just falling apart, and it's always the same thing, broken record, the same thing all the time. It seems like nothing's changed.
Again, we just had a presentation from someone, how do we attract young families? And you're a young family. How are we going to attract them and keep them here when the cost of housing and living is so sky high? We say there's a shortage of affordable housing, yet people who have lived here for years and paid taxes are now giving up their homes because they can't afford the utilities and the taxes. We need a wake-up call. Council needs to be reminded who they work for and who they represent here.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Do we have, Councillor Danaka? Sorry.
I just want to thank you for coming. It's never easy to come forward. And as Councillor Stenhouse said, we tend to need a reminder of being fiscally responsible. I mean, as a council, we have a lot of things that are on our plate that we have to deal with. I'm not making excuses. Cuts in grants to municipalities, downloading of services from the province on municipalities. It's really difficult to try and find that balance when you're sitting in this position. And I mean, we try, and as Mayor Panasic said, it's not something that we relish doing in terms of taxes. Some we have no control over, grocery prices, that stuff we have no, and unfortunately COVID, and again, not to make excuses, unfortunately COVID really kicked people hard. Supply chain issues, jobs being lost, and it's just, hopefully we can get back into the groove again of moving forward. But again, thank you very much for coming forward. It's much appreciated.
Thanks for having me.
Okay, one more, and then we got to move on.
So to the little girl there, you've been really patient as Mommy has come in. Mommy's doing a really important thing, and I hope your little girl sees the role model. It's not easy to be a voice, Sheila. Thank you. I'll echo what Deputy Mayor Danaka said and my colleague Councillor Stenhouse. We continue to be reminded, but in some ways I feel like it's rhetoric, right? We say all the right things, but yet when it comes to decision making, we don't do the right things. I was the only one recently that opposed a spend. And I'm a huge proponent of STARS, but we are triple dipping. We have bought $3,000 worth of calendars. They got provincial funding that doubled this year from $7 million to $15 million. That $4,000 STARS does not need it. We do need it. Charity begins in the home first, and I would like our ratepayers to actually have the choice to maybe take that money and pay their utility bills versus giving it to charity. So my point is, more to my colleague colleagues is we say this, but we're not doing it. And I think it's time to start really looking at the fine, every dollar, and really being prudent. I can't, in good conscience, say to you that we are doing it 100% today. We're certainly looking at it, and I think we have made some cuts, and a lot of it isn't us, it's the economy. But I think we have to be proactive to face those headwinds, and we're not. There are things in place right now where I don't think that's happening. And go to the post office. There are people that, you know, so thank you for coming in. I appreciate that, and I appreciate the support from the people in this community. We heard from a lady in January, much like yourself, that said very much the same thing. So thank you for echoing and reminding council.
I wish more families could come here and talk.
And I
Really, because I, like in my workplace, I see it all the time. It's heartbreaking.
It is. And we have to support that group of population.
Yeah.
Because the kids and the seniors aren't making it. We have graphs. We just had it displayed. We want to attract young families to grow and live and thrive this town. We have to help them.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you.
Sorry, I'll make one more point. We are really blessed in this room. The people sitting around the council table are the 20%. There's an 80% of our population that we're just either not advocating for, or we've forgotten about, or, you know, I think that the one comment that you read, I wrote it down, that council is out of touch. Maybe that's true. It's hard to hear that, right? I sit here and I cringe, but maybe it's true. So thanks for the reminder.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Is there anybody else that would like to come up as a public delegation? Come on up.
Good evening, councillors. Donna, thank you for the letter you sent for me. I appreciate that.
You're welcome.
I'm here to follow up the voice of the young lady. She just was in front of you guys. Judy, you're right. We want to attract the family. I'm the chairperson for the Children's Resource Council, as you know. And we work hard to bring the funding. We brought to make us to be the hub and to keep it alive in High Prairie, and to receive $1,150,000 and keep it alive, and will continue to be alive. The center doing very well, just for your guys' information. Anyway, I'm in here, it's just about the way the thing is going. And Mr. Banasek, you're saying about the money spent there and there, and there's a point in there, but the way we could bring the money is how we bring the grants from the government. The books is proof. When I was in town council, James, you were there at that time, and I went to Halifax for the international municipal meetings. Chris Parker is alive. He's still in Beast River. You guys could ask him. I brought $650,000 at the time, and that money was spent on the lift station, the one over there by the high school. We didn't use taxpayers' money. Go back to your budget and check the utility amount, how much the town of High Prairie collect, and the profit the town of High Prairie make from the utility, that money. Sure, we are $1 million point some on a plus. So if we have millions some on a plus, well, why can't we help the people who can afford to pay the utilities? We have to make sure those utilities go and cut down on them less money. And the taxes. There is some houses, the town, they are saying worth about $650,000. But if you sell that house right now in a hot sale, you're lucky if you get $325,000. So how you tax a resident with that amount of money, and you could make sure that house is worth that's the amount of money, to be less than, you know, the way it's supposed to be. Cut having somebody as to be our managing our town, somebody with experience to know how to bring the grants, how to bring the money, how to bring the fundings in. There is lots of money out there, lots of money out there. If I went in that time when I brought 650 plus, for you guys' information, and James will witness that, I brought $5,000 extra for my expense. I got it through the government, from the federal government. Our prime minister, he was there that day. We talked to the sub minister. You lobby. When you go to places like this, you lobby. Sometimes I don't want to go and watch what they are showing, talking and that. I go in the lobbies and see the ministers and lobby with them. That's how you do the lobbying to bring funding for your community. Anyway, you guys been wasting time about who we're going to hire for CO. We have a local person. I know she applied. Why doesn't we give this local person a chance, for example? This local person, you know, she lives in town already. She paid taxes already in our community, okay? We should give her, she's local, she's in here right now, and we should give a chance to this person. This person at the Bawa, I don't know how many of you guys was at the Bawa on Saturday. When she did her speech, in the beginning, she spoke in Cree, spoke English, and spoke in Cree. Everybody loved that, respected that. That's what we need, somebody with PR skill. You could have all kind of education and all kind of promise, but you have that PR skill with the people. Not to make any difference between anybody. A CEO who go and visit people, a CEO who's gonna knock the doors on the businesses. The last CEO we had, he never came to any business, say, hello, I am so and so. I have doctors' friends. They don't know even how our CEO looks like. So we have to promote ourselves. We have to bring ourselves outside. Like what you just said, Judy, the councils have to remember why they are here. And that's to you, John, and that's to you, Teresa. When you guys came to my house and campaigned, so far I didn't see any of you guys what you promised to do up to now. Do what you promised me. For you guys, for me to support you. That's how you do it. Work hard. You are sitting in here to present the people outside. That's why you got elected, to do things to the people. And I'm not gonna come in here to give you guys culture. You guys have the brain to think. Think of the town. Think of the people. Think of that young lady over there, her future, and my kids and my grandkids, and you guys' kids and your grandkids. Think of those people. We have to do something. Enough is playing games and having, like very soon you're gonna see how many people you're gonna cut their gas on them, because now summer's coming. The people can afford to pay their bills. How are you guys gonna deal with that? Keep cutting and shut them down? It doesn't make sense. High Prairie is a low income budget. It's a low income. I bet you about between 60 to 65% of High Prairie people, they are in a low income budget. So we have to really work hard on that one. You know, you could review anybody come in and they say, okay, we could do this for you, we could build mountains for you. But that's true. James, remember when we hired a common development person, not the local, the one from the outside. That person took us for more than $200 and some thousand, and we didn't get nothing. And he was promising us with the biodiesel. Remember, James?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, good. That's those type of people, when they promise you they want to put a rose garden for you, don't believe those people. You have somebody local, somebody knows the municipality, knows how to get a grant, knows how to do the job, go with that person, and that person is willing to take less wages than another person coming. Give that person a chance. That's my opinion. And you guys could continue doing a good job and just keep us alive in this community. As I'm in the business, I'm in here as I'm, the chair for the president, for the chamber, the General Reserve Council. I'm in lots of stuff right now, and I'm trying to help my community in here. I'm trying to help, but I do have kids. I have to spend some time with my kids. but I like to do more because this town gave me a lot. And I want to pay this town back what this town gave me. That's how the idea. It's not the idea just to sit in there and say, yes, no, I'll make the motion. No, there's more into it. There's deep into it. Bring somebody that's going to bring you the money. Somebody is going to go out and lobby between the federal government and the provincial government. There's lots of money. Bring our MLA in there and say, hey, we need to do this, you guys. Bring our MD. Come on, what you can do for us. And those guys are willing to do. Work with them. And that's how it is. And like I said to the mayor, when we had the grand opening upstairs at the hospital, I shook his hand. And I said, let's forget about the election, let's work together. That's exactly my word to him. That happened or not, Mr.
Yes.
Mayor? Yes? Okay. And up to now, I didn't hear from him. That's not the way to work. That's the way. Let's be engaged. Let's be one hand together to make a future of our community for our children and our youth. That's how it is. Now I'm in a position, Northern Lake College, as the chair. I want to make sure we have lots of things to offer to people. Like, for example, Saturday, not even a representative from Northern Lake College was on that power. That was important for Northern Lake. I was there and I said, hey, I am here. You know, that's how you do that. We got to work with our neighbors. We got to work with our neighbors. That's important. Without our neighbors to come to our community and work with us, well, nothing as a business. Because, you know, they could go and shop everywhere. They could do everywhere. We're going to work with our neighbors, bring the students in here, and we could get, you know, the colleges alive and going. And that's the way I see it. You know, you guys, thank you for listening to me. Anybody have a question to me, please just give it to me. Go ahead.
I don't have a question, but I have a comment. I've been tracking the price of natural gas, and in January it was selling at $1.79. Last week it was at $8. Yesterday it was $7.04, and today it's trading at $7.30. That is a major jump and a major increase to any household just to heat their houses.
Yes.
People are sitting in their houses with the furnace down because of the price of natural gas. We have to listen to our residents. We have to help them the best we can.
Okay, Judy, if you don't mind. What happened in here, Judy? There is a way. There is. You could work on advantages. When we trying to get the hospital built, and James remember, Linda Cox, she was our mayor. She remember. They offered us $69 million to do the hospital. That was just like a bandage, like a clinic, right? So we fought and we fought and we fought till finally we opened the hospital with $222 million. Okay? Same thing with the college. We did. Okay, now, there is a minister. His name is Dale Nally. He's the MLA of St. Albert. He's the Minister of Gas and Electricity. Go through our MLA office and make appointment to bring him in here and you guys deal with him. He's willing to help us and dig a well for gas. We used to own our own gas long time ago, High Prairie, and they sold it. But you could have, we have gas in here. So let's have a build of a future, Judy. You're right about what you said, the price. A year, 2 years to come. Let's build up that, and maybe we'll have our own well. The electricity. You bring the company in here, Judy. You're the bosses for this town. And say, come on, sit down in here. How could you do this to the people? How could we work on it? Some company, they said if they sign a contract with us for a year or 2 years, the prices would be that much, right? Okay, so that's the same thing. You work with them. Let's do something in here. Let's create a community. That's their job. Just to shop around how we could fix this for the future. You can't do it today or tomorrow, Judy, or a month or two, maybe within a year or two. But let's build it up. Let's see what Dale have to say. Like, you know, if you listen to Dale in the question period yesterday, what he said, there is ways we could work it out. There is some funding money could come in now to the people so they could match with the bills now and stuff like that. And matter of fact, our MLA asked a question to Dale today, yesterday, I believe, and there is answers. So yeah, you guys get answers from them. Just phone Martin at Bad Drain's office and Martin say, hey, we like to see the minister of so-and-so to come and visit us in High Prairie, or we could have a Zoom meeting with him. They'll set it up for you, no problem. Our government, this government is willing to do anything, but you have to ask. And if you guys need any help, I'm still offering my help. And free help, you know, just to make sure we are in the right direction. That's all we have to do. So,
Thank you.
you're welcome.
Thank you. I think we need to move on where it was public delegations
Yes,
of
I
5
understand and I
minutes.
appreciate
where-
that, but it's important for me. I
I know,
don't come in
and-
here lots of time, but when I come, I want to explain, okay? So,
No,
we'll
then,
talk later. Thank you so much.
thanks for coming in.
No problem.
And is there anybody else as a public delegation that would like to come up? All right.
My name is Sharon Cox. I'm a ratepayer here in the town of High Prairie. My first question after listening is, what is our surplus here in High Prairie? What do we have for a total surplus?
A total surplus, you mean what do we have in our savings account?
Yes.
Is that what you're asking?
Yep.
I would probably
7 million approximately.
approximately 7 million.
And that's including anything that's in this package or that package?
That's all of the
That's a total amount.
packages.
Okay.
Yep.
Okay, that was, because I heard, different, so I was wanting to have that clarified. I did also hear that 2 local people had applied for the position of the CEO. Is that true?
We had way more than 4 apply. for
Local?
the- Yes, we
Okay.
probably had
Okay.
5 or 6, yeah.
I hope that we're giving good, serious consideration to local if we can. I think that is something that we need to really look at. So those are my thoughts on that one. Some of the other questions have been answered. I noticed in the paper when I got back, I was reading that the province or the federal government, I'm not sure which, is downloading, and I knew this before, more and more of the costs of local policing from the RCMP. In saying that, what are we at now? 40,000, is it?
Again, I'll ask Reed, I think it's about 50 or
Okay.
60.
And it's going up.
And it's going up.
Yes. So in saying that, our local, Alan and that, when they go out of town to help the RCMP, do we charge that back then?
No, not to them necessarily, no.
To who
But
would
I don't think, and I don't know, I would ask, but I don't think we go out of town to assist the RCMP that often.
Okay, but I know that we have at the Canuso corner when they check for fish or, different things like that. Because if it's being downloaded to us, and we pay our taxes to the federal government to cover our CMP costs and everything else, and we pay our taxes here. Our people here, then we should be charging back if we have to go out and help out. So it's nice and we want to help each other and get along and everything else, but there comes a point of where does it stop for us citizens, you for a citizen, in paying these costs? If they can download, we can download. So I think we need to think pretty hard about that when we allow our town policing to go out of town and look at that. So the other thing is, I also had talked to Tyler Warman from Slave Lake. The day after the new chairman was appointed to the Northern Lakes College, a call was given to Barry Shikawi to congratulate him. I was very disappointed, and I kept looking at the news to see if we had sent anything from the town of High Prairie. And I think that just happened last week. Am I right in saying that?
No, it happened a couple of weeks ago, I believe. It was, council made a motion at our last meeting to send them a letter, and it was
I would
sent.
have thought as mayor of the town of High Prairie, immediately, when I say immediately, I mean even that night, upon hearing upon it, a call should have been made of congratulations, This is a big deal that we have somebody from our community that has been put in that position. And that's where I see pettiness come into play. And many people see the same thing. And I think it's terrible that a call wouldn't have been put through and there had to be a discussion with council as to whether to write a letter or not. I think that's horrible. Absolutely horrible. And we wonder why the town of High Prairie doesn't grow sometimes. Well, it's some of these reasons. So I just wanted to express that. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. And is there anyone else that would like to come up as a public delegation?
Well, hello everybody. How you doing?
Good, you?
Yeah?
Very
I'm
good,
doing
thank you.
fine. Anyway, I've lived here, not many
Perhaps
of you
you
guys
can
know
just
me.
start so everybody knows who
My
you
name
are.
is Wayne Erasmus.
Yeah, thank you.
I've lived here since 1985. I've been on town council when I first come here. And you know what? I'm sitting here listening. Nothing's changed. Still the same. Why is that? Because of being unprofessional by a couple of guys that I know here? You're driving people out of town. You know? Like, look at, why don't you think out of the box? I'll just talk about the recreation center because I get too upset with this other stuff. Why don't you think outside the box instead of looking at that swimming pool as the big cost? Why don't you use that to bring the people back into town, maybe? Or maybe even look at training some of the young people there, even giving them jackets. Somebody has been there for 7 years and hasn't even got a jacket. You know? So guys, you got to do better. People are leaving here. People are not shopping here. I don't even shop here because of the prices. I listen to this young lady here, and I wonder how sometimes these people put, you know, food on the table. That's what they're thinking about. And I'm concerned about this new person we're hiring. You know, when's that going to happen? And at what cost? In talking about the swimming pool, think outside the box to bring people back. Use that place as ambassadors for the communities. Why don't you start there? You're talking about apologies. I think there should be apology coming from the town to the Aboriginal communities here, based on what happened a few years ago when it came to inviting somebody in here to give you a course on Métis. What did you do? You brought in a non-native and left them other people out there, and elders sitting there. No, and they asked for you, Brian, you wouldn't come and face them. When they asked you why there was no call to them. You hollered from your office. We decided to go someone else. That kind of stuff don't work, guys. It gets around. And what about Brian? What about my backyard with these two guys? How unprofessional were they? And racist. You said to me right there, I'm not racist, Wayne. You know what my dad said? Watch out for those guys. And the other thing I want to talk to you about is people power. When you're in positions like this, you get people power, but you got to know how to use it, not for yourself. And I see that happening here. There's lots of talk around here. There's lots of things I'd like to say, but I can't. But anyway, I think you guys should start listening to the voters. And and that, and I'm hearing some horrendous things about costs and that. The other thing, safety. It's just a matter of time before we have a big accident here with the employees. They run around in their sandals, watering the plants, no hard hats, no nothing. You'll see a back truck sitting out here, a contractor. All the employees got hard hats on. It's all marked all around. There was 2 vehicles side by side, 2 back trucks over here in front of IGA one time. And the town guys, no flags out, no nothing. Walking around, no hard hats on, no gloves. It's just have you guys ever dealt with OH&S? It's just a matter of time. Don't get those boys on you, because I'll guarantee you they'll come after you. I know. Someone was killed on a job I was working on. Don't let that happen. Safety is a big, big issue here in this town. I see them guys shoveling snow. No lanyard on, no nothing. Nobody with them. What happens if that guy falls? Who's responsible? You guys. So I think you better go home and have a relook at what you're doing here. What we elected you here for the betterment of people, not to drive them out of town. Thank you.
Thank you.
Oh, any questions? No question?
Yep. Thanks for coming in. And one more call if anybody would like to speak. Any more public delegation? Nope. All right. Seeing none, we will move on in our we'll take a break. Okay. We'll take a 10-minute break and we'll go from there.
That's a brand new technology going on.
Yeah.
Well, not maybe brand new.
For us.
Surely. People clean their houses with that.